Welcome to another weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we have been absolutely swamped this week as spring con season springs into action. I actually did not intend that little word play there, but here we are.
I see what you did there.
From the Marked Out Collectibles front, we had quite a busy week. We finally got hundos in the house.
Listen, he finally showed up, which again, no knock on him. It says he's busy. And it was great to finally get that one in the books.
So yeah, we had Brad Baylor, fresh off of his debut on WWE Evolve television on Tubi. He showed up at. We still need to come up with a name for my dining room. Anyway, he showed up to my dining room. We have insert name here when we come up with it. What did you think of meeting Brad Baylor in person?
I mean, he looks like a star. He carries himself like a star. I think, as far, since we view these as like investments, I think this is probably one of the investments that I feel the most just at peace with. How about you?
Yeah, so he's a tall kid, man. I wasn't really expecting that. I'm going to be honest. It's one of the funny things about working with these ID talents is how young they all are, and it's very hard. So we're running these signings. Some of them are around them for an hour and a half, 45 minutes. So we're trying to talk wrestling with these guys, and some of these guys are like, Brad Baylor was born in like 2003 or something, 2004, and so even trying to talk about wrestling, and it's just I remember one of the stories he told us was that his Sin Cara was one of his first Halloween costumes when he was a little kid, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. It just kind of shook my head. It's funny how we're almost like 2 generations removed from them, not even one, and almost 2. That part of it is amusing to me and interesting to me. That I am not even pretend. It's very hard to even pretend to be contemporaries with these guys. They are very, very, very young. In particular, Brad, and so yeah, he was very funny. He was super professional, got everything done. He's very, like I said before, he's very tall, which I really wasn't expecting. I think a lot of the newer guys, I was expecting them to be that very athletic indie style, more like a CM Punk or a Bryan Danielson, but a few of these guys are actually very big. And Brad is one of them. He's deceptive because, he's still a young guy, so he doesn't look very, filled out. But I mean, he's got to be 6. He's like a legit 6'2", right?
Oh yeah, 6'2". He didn't have any of those like boot lifts that you see some guys out there have that they'll put. They can make Gary Coleman look like almost like he had like just regular shoes on. He was legit 6'2", and if I sit here now and critique his build, and you look at me, that would be like ridiculous. But
yeah, when that's their job, part of it is to.
But a decade from now, when he's like in WWE, presumably, and he fills out. I mean, he's got that size where he's gonna be able to go in the ring with anyone and look the part. And you could say that now more than any other time, maybe size doesn't matter, but size matters. It's wrestling. If you could have a guy who's bigger than someone else that could do everything else, you're going to go with the bigger guy.
Yeah, so Brad was a lot of fun to have in. And then just yesterday, actually, and the reason why this podcast is dropping a few hours late is we had Hardway Sam Holloway in. And let me tell you, we were just talking about big. Sam Holloway is a big, scary dude. Legit. This dude is legit. He's not a working 6'6". He's a legit 6'6", which means he really should probably claim to be 6'10", like Kevin Nash. That he really should, because he's a legit 6'6". Dude is huge, and it's funny because he's only 24 years old, but he comes across as very wise to the world.
Yeah, just talking life, talking like the psychology of the business. He gets it. It's like the best of both worlds. I said to you, if you were a company. You're getting a 24-year-old in terms of body and health and all that, but you're getting a guy who honestly you would think is 10 years older. He's super mature and super grounded, and he, like you said, he's huge. If you've watched any of the reels of him out there, this guy's jumping over top ropes. he's doing all sorts of crazy spots. This is not like he's not Kane just walking around like this guy's.
No, what he is, he's a Mike Awesome type walking around.
Yeah.
And just a superior athlete. What's interesting is, I mean, he had revealed, we were discussing that, he had gotten a full college football scholarship, which is like mind blowing to me, and basically went to pursue wrestling instead. And we were discussing kind of the merits between the Next in Line program, which is those Division I and former Olympic athletes. Those are one pipeline to WWE, and then the ID, which is through the independents. And yeah, he's a very funny guy. He had great stories. It's funny because he's been wrestling for 2 years, and he has these very funny, classic sort of indie wrestling stories that were really enjoyable to listen to. I don't know. I feel hesitant telling any because I'm not sure what was meant for public consumption and what was private.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's funny because each time we do these signings, a lot, we're really, if I'm being honest, I'm not sitting around watching indie wrestling on YouTube all day. That's just not what I'm doing. And so a lot of times we're meeting these people pretty much sight unseen. Maybe I'll watch a match or two on Twitter, but beyond that, I don't really know a lot of these guys. And I've just been, I think the big theme here, how incredibly impressed I am with their selection criteria. Because, I mean, so far, all of the people we've worked with have been awesome. Where they exude this star quality when you meet them. They're very hungry and eager and hardworking and professional. Just can't say enough good things about this whole program, and honestly, this whole sort of business strategy that we've stumbled into, more or less. How, I mean, the way you said it, it's it's an investment in our future, and there's no question it's an investment. That's for sure. We are investing in it, but I think that we're doing right now what a lot of I don't think anyone else is doing this.
No.
I mean, we've had 8 ID signings, and the 9th is later this week. Does my math? I think that's right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a whirlwind, honestly. It feels like every day I'm like messaging someone from this list, and it just feels like time actually blurs. It seems crazy that we've gotten that much done in such a short time. But we're burning through the list, and I'm sure just when we finish this list is going to be a whole new one.
Yeah.
Before we move on from Sam, I just want to. This is not really a shill for our products, but it kind of is. When we were picking Sam up at the airport yesterday, we observed a WWE grapher heading into the airport. So, we got Sam in the car, and of course, Sam was all decked out in his ID tracksuit with the logo all over it. And we were just, talking about the hobby, the scene, and somehow we got on the topic of airport graphers. And here's a dude who's just starting out, and he was already like fundamentally like over it. Like he's like, I asked him, I'm like, are you prepared for this? Like 5 a.m. flights and having like people waiting for you at the terminal. And he's like, basically, I don't want to speak for him, but he wasn't super excited about that. He remarked about someone at his table getting an autograph, and then he found it on eBay, and now he's like trying to get people to get like personalizations. This is a dude already that is concerned about his value, concerned about his privacy. He's not, I might be proved wrong. Like, 5 years from now, if this is completely wrong, feel free to like throw these like timestamps at me. But I don't think he's going to be like, Liv Morgan or Jeff Hardy, like just hitting the board in the airport, giving free privates away. This dude he's about his business. He's about his privacy. And I don't think you're going to get him that way for long or ever. So
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think he's most likely to be called up early.
Yeah. I think without going into any of the stuff he told us, I mean, if you go on the Twitter account and just look at how much they're using him, how prominently they're using him, the fact that he is a 6'6" legitimate guy that can do all these things.
A big, scary, dangerous-looking dude. There's no other way to say it.
If you want him in your collection, buy it from us. If you want to meet him and that's something that, that you have an opportunity to do, go to his table, support him, put money in his pocket. I wouldn't say, oh, I'll just get him at a luggage carousel in 2 years. Like, I don't know how lucky or successful you'll be at that.
Yeah, my favorite part of the whole thing, well, two pieces. Number one, when we were circling the pickup area in LaGuardia, we were like trying to figure out, is he going to text us? Or how's he going to find us? There was no mistaking him when he walked out of the door.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We drove by like, that's Sam. You can see him from a half a block away. That's how big he is, and that's how distinctive he looks. There was not even a question. I think there are some people when you look at them, is that person when you see them, when you only see them on the internet? You know, there is absolutely no mistaking Sam Holloway for anyone else. And I think that is such a key to star power. It actually reminds me of it. We have talked about this. I'm not sure if on the show. We've talked about it off the show. Remember when we were graphing the set for Law and Order SVU that time? And I managed to spot Stephanie March from like a block and a half away. Just because she stands out among all other people, pretty much, as a very unique looking person. Granted, Sam Holloway is not unique looking for the same reason that Stephanie March is unique looking, but he absolutely stood out. And the second part, and one of the reasons why I think he's gonna get called up, is he's spending his time these days studying tape of classic wrestlers like Jumbo, Stan Hansen, Steve Williams. Terry Funk, and it's like if they're molding him into that kind of performer, you know, his idol right now in wrestling is Walter. Like if they're molding him into that, I actually shudder to think what he's gonna become. You know, he's one of these just absolute beasts who demolishes everything that stands in his path. So I am like very, very, very. Very optimistic. It's funny. I'm way more optimistic after yesterday, after spending a few hours with him than I was before. I am 100% sold on Sam Holloway.
Yeah, that was one of those times where I wanted to be like, you know, let me just run another couple hundred prints and let's just renegotiate this deal real quick, because that's how sold I was. But I'm sure we'll see him again down the road.
And here I am, like we're trying to do like logistics and stuff, and I'm like nerding out over Jumbo versus Stan Hansen matches. I can recommend to him to go watch. You know, it's just, I mean, it's rare because again, most of these kids that we're talking to, their favorite wrestler is like Randy Orton or something like that, or somebody pretty modern. And for the fact that he's watching Jumbo tapes speaks just volumes to his understanding of what his role is going to be. And he also talked about admiring The Undertaker, which is very fair. But as far as if he models himself after those kind of guys who were just this very hard-hitting smash mouth kind of style that got over big and all, that's my thing. That's what I've always been a huge fan of. So I'm very excited.
And if you look on the indie scene right now, I mean, and this is largely what I do and what you do. We do this all the time. Just like find people that we think are worth working with. There's a lot of the like Brian Kendrick, Paul London types that, have a decent look, but they're shorter in person and they flip around and they're athletic as hell. And that's awesome. And a bunch of those guys are needed and they will do great. There's not. I dare you to find 5 guys in the country right now that are his size, can do what he can do. There's not a lot of them. And when you are a limited resource like that, I mean, you're going to catch on somewhere. I don't think WWE is going to let him through their fingers, but if they do, he's going to be a problem somewhere else. Like, you can't teach all these gifts he has.
It's true. So you had another thing aside from our 2 ID signings this week. You had something else happen, which I mean, I was making fun of it a little, but I can't deny the results.
Yeah, I had Ancient Aliens live in Patchogue in beautiful Long Island, Patchogue. This was sort of a last minute thing for me. I was chewing on this for a little while. I like the show. I mean, there's like 300 episodes. I have not watched all of them. I've watched, a number of them. It's fun. Like, I know, like in like summer school, if there's like free time during lunch, I'll throw on an episode, and the boys love aliens and they're like engrossed. It's a cool show. So I went to this event. It was the typical like stage show with the meet and greet after, and I was expecting like think we even talked about it on the air. I was expecting just madness, lunatics, just insanity like I've never seen before. And I'll tell you what, when I got there, it was probably one of the more normal crowds I've ever seen, which I think probably speaks more about the insane crowds I frequent and less about the normalcy of this one, because it just doesn't, nothing else makes sense. But it was pretty normal.
So, I mean, you did say someone wore a tinfoil hat, ironically.
I think, because he seemed like he was laughing about it. There was another guy that had another, like, sort of a tinfoil hat on. He looked largely normal. I think he just had it to be ironic and funny, I'm hoping. There was one guy that had like a silver like Kangol hat and like a jacket that resembled like aluminum foil, but it was like a puffer jacket. That I don't think you'd buy that whole suit, ironically. So I think he's just a weirdo, but we see weirder stuff at Wrestling Universe for like out of 50 fans. So that's not saying a ton.
So so these guys, when they're giving a performance like this, is like everything tongue in cheek? Like, do they know it's all fake, or is there like this like kayfabe part of it?
I mean, I don't know. It depends. I mean, not to go deep down a wormhole, but I mean, I myself, I don't know if I'd say I'm a full-on believer, but I'm definitely not a non-believer. So I wouldn't be, you would probably have a whole different reaction to a lot of the quote-unquote evidence than I did. I'm not convinced by all of it. I'm also convinced that obviously these guys are taking this show on the road, and it's probably more snake oil salesman than legit science. But I'm definitely open to the possibility.
So was it an entertaining show all told?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. As start of the show, I was actually pulling a U. I think I was dozing off for the first quarter of it. I was just tired. It's like my head kept dropping, and I felt like the people around me were probably thinking, like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? But then I woke up towards like the middle part of it, and it was good. They actually gave out a pre-signed 11x17 live ink. Looks actually like, one of the higher quality products that I've seen at one of these things in quite some time, which was nice. And they actually sell on eBay for around $100, which isn't bad because
it's hilarious. I would have mine would already be in the mail sold.
Yeah, I like it. It's cool looking. I like the show. It's something where, maybe one day I'll make an alien wall, paranormal wall. It's possible. All right, probably not possible, but I want to keep the option open. But yes, all things considered, a fun night, and yeah, all good.
So how was the meet and greet part?
It was, they had, when I walked in, I saw like the Ancient Aliens History Channel backdrop in the lobby. I was hoping they had 2 of those, but I knew the truth. I've been to enough of these where it was obvious how it was going to go. So I luckily my seat was cheap because I didn't want to buy a good one. So I was up high in the high, it's a small theater, so there is no high, but I was high in considering. And I knew that that's where the meet and greet was going to be pointing. So I didn't like run down where, we normally would to line up for the other ones. So I got on the line with like the pregnant women and the handicapped people. They were up top, and I was like the first like non-pregnant handicapped person on that line. So I wanted to get the hell out of there. And it was good, but the issue was they had a merch table, and they wouldn't let the cast up there until the merch table cleared out and they could clear the building. So that was an annoying inconvenience. We were sitting there for like 40 minutes waiting for the merch table to work, to resolve itself. It would have been easier.
You gotta sell the gimmicks, brother.
I agree, but they should have had the meet and greet somewhere else. I mean, as it was, they had all of us hostage, and there were a number of people that wanted to buy stuff from the merch table, and by the time they got out, it was shut down. So they actually lost money by leaving us all in this this locked away. We could have been doing the meeting and then buying the gifts afterwards. But I guess for some of this stuff, it's just too, they don't think like that. They're just logistically trying to get it all through in the smoothest way possible.
So I guess that's that.
Yeah.
So there was some interesting con news this week at the C2E2 con in Chicago. And C2E2 is one of the big, I guess I'd put it as one of the big 3 with New York Comic Con and San Diego, right? Yeah. I see you typing in the document, and I have what you're typing on my screen right now. So I know exactly what you're going to write. Anyway, Emilio Estevez is going to be at C2E2 to do their Breakfast Club reunion. Now, if anyone follows con, happenings like we do, you'll know that multiple other shows have tried to get Emilio. They've thrown big money at Emilio. I mean, Steel City was very open publicly about throwing big money at Emilio, trying to get him to come. And I believe Emilio lives in Ohio, which is very close to Mechanicsville or whatever, Pittsburgh, where Steel City is, and Monroeville. I don't know what's it.
Mechanicsville is the home of CM Showstopper.
Oh, in that ballpark. Anyway, Monroeville. So it's pretty close. But he had always turned down all the other shows, and so for one reason or another, and we've been speculating as to why, and I'm not sure I can even come up with an answer. But Emilio Estevez has confirmed attendance for C2E2. I know that it's funny, we were discussing, like, is that enough to get either of us to Chicago? I am a firm no. I think you're also a firm no, right?
I mean, I'm a firm no, mostly on the grounds of poverty to a level that I'm not flying to Chicago. If I had a couple extra zeros in the bank account, would I be crunching schedules that I could fly in, fly out the same day in some sick, twisted trip? Possibly, but I mean, as I am now, I'm not doing it. It just blows my mind that, I mean, yes, C2E2 is a big show, but if you told me that Steel City was going to get Robin Williams like tomorrow at the next show, I'd be like, well, maybe they'll find a way, because that's what they do. And maybe it's a little too soon to make that comment. I even feel sad for my own comment, since, long live Robin. But how do they fail at something that anyone else can do? They get all these impossible people out. So I
think C2E2 in San Diego and New York, they operate at a different level. I do. I think Steel is the top of the next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can believe that. But maybe this is wishful thinking. I think, honestly, like, if you want to look at the reason why, I think it's really just that the switch was flipped. Mel Gibson didn't do them until he did. Randy Quaid didn't do them until he did. I think he's always been intrigued enough that he even will have the conversations, because it's a good payday. I imagine the cast of The Breakfast Club have told him it's a good payday. I think this is, unless something bad happens at C2E2, or someone kicks him in the balls in the photo op room, or they whack him with a hockey stick or something like awful. I mean, I would like to think this is simply the start of a run. And, we'll see him at Rhode Island. We'll see him at NYCC. We'll see him at different places as the time goes by. Maybe we won't. Maybe this will be one and done. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure. They're of course pimping that this is his only appearance, but I mean, look, they gotta sell it that way. I think what'll happen is, he will draw, because it's his first ever appearance. He's going to draw in a way that not only benefits him, but benefits everyone around him, right? And so everyone's going to be really happy that he was there. They're going to sell a ton of stuff. And then, these things like anything else, they have diminishing returns. So could I see him going on a run? Yes, I could. I could see him going on a run. We were talking about this in the car yesterday. I am not, so I'm not a huge Emilio Estevez fan. I could take him or leave him, to be honest. So that's why he's not a draw for me on any level. And I've traveled for way smaller names than this. But I do think there's a very significant, meaningful part of the population that he's going to draw heavily from. He has his Breakfast Club reunion, but also Mighty Ducks. It's impossible to understate, I think, impossible to overstate just how meaningful that is to a lot of people. So I think he's going to do really well. I think if he does really well, that's going to sort of open the floodgates, and it'll probably be like his brother, where he does a bunch, then he'll take some time away, because I mean, I don't think he needs the money like that. I mean, they come from a pretty wealthy family, so I'm not sure what the needs are, because that's at the end of the day, the needs dictate the behavior. That's a long-winded way of saying I think we'll see him again.
Yeah.
Maybe not at a Steel City or Rhode Island, maybe at a New York Comic-Con.
Listen, I let him come to New York Comic-Con and let him bring his brother.
On a Friday.
Listen, I don't know. I might have to say that I was, hemorrhaging like tiger blood or something, and I have to call out. I have to figure something out if that happens, because that's I still don't have Charlie. I know you're in that boat with me. I just think you care a little bit less than I do.
Significantly, yeah.
Yeah, so I need both of them. I'll take Martin too if he wants to come out.
I think Martin. Listen, Martin's great. So Martin's wild to me. That would be really cool. But I mean, he's very old now. So, there's also I see you. What I alluded to earlier. You were typing in the chat. Fanatics Fest has announced its lineup. They did so within the last 45 minutes or so. If you're really dying a timeout when we're recording this, and so they had already announced like Dwayne Wade and The Undertaker. But are you seeing when I'm seeing the announcement here?
Yes, the wait is over. Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, Jey Uso, Liv Morgan joined the WWE lineup alongside the legendary Undertaker. I think.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, I've been having conversations with people privately. Like Jey Uso, 100% was going to be there. He drew like crazy last year. I bet you the crowd's doubled this year. Cody, you could have out at the Javits Center on a monthly basis, and he would sell out every time. Same with Rhea Ripley. I mean, Liv Morgan's Liv Morgan. She's always going to do well. I mean, it all makes sense. I don't think there's a single photo I would get of these. Like, I have them all in relatively, like, current looks. Like, Taker, I don't need again. Ripley's the only one I had, which was in NXT. I guess I could use a new Ripley op, but I mean, I don't know if I will. How about you?
It's tough for me. This is a tough one for me because I'm going to be very honest. It's objectively a great lineup. It's just not great for me. You know.
Hold on. You need Cody, and he's arguably the top guy in the company. So that's pretty damn good.
It is. I don't need Undertaker. I'm not a fan of Jey Uso at all, and in fact, I am not sure he's going to draw as well after he gets stomped into the ground at WrestleMania this year.
You don't think he's going over? Not to go on a wrestling tangent, but you don't think he's going over?
Unless they're feeling suicidal about their business, I don't think he's going over. No, I think he's going to be stomped into a bloody paste, an unrecognizable paste on the ground. So that's just my view there. I think the wheels will come off that cart sooner rather than later. Liv has been on fire for the past couple of years, but she's not rare. I mean, everyone has her, you know. And Rhea, I mean, I have Rhea. Rhea's my favorite. Rhea's the GOAT, but again, she's not rare at all. But I mean, will they draw? Will they draw crazy numbers of casuals? Yes. I think it's time for me to bite the bullet and just get Cody because I never did, and I ought to. It's time. So I will do that. I will get Cody. Actually, it really depends on the date. It's June 20th to 22nd. That should be all right. I got to double check. But
let's keep in mind here, it does say more WWE legends and superstars on the way. So this is not the complete lineup. But I think we have to sort of understand what Fanatics Fest is. This is not going to be the place where, if you're saying, well, the only one I need is Otis to complete the roster, or, I need, Chad Gable. You're probably never going to see that level of talent. You're not going to see the Jinder Mahals of years past. It's going to always be like the top people that the casuals are going to want. If you're someone that you meet someone once and you're done, Fanatics Fest is probably not going to be for you. On a selfish level, I'm hoping for Damian Priest. I'm hoping for Solo Sikoa. I think Priest, since he's has a NYC ties, I think he's probably a decent chance to be there. Dominic, I would like to see. He's awesome. But I mean, beyond that, I recognize it's going to be a lot of repeats.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for Dominic, of course. I mean, with Liv Morgan there, could you imagine the duo?
Oh, crap, I guess I needed the group up then. Shit.
Right. I'm surprised they don't they should bring in Ray every time, because Ray will literally draw hundreds and hundreds of people anywhere he goes every time. I want Roman Reigns, and I mean, I would say Roman Reigns and Dom were the two who I was hoping for.
Roman might be on a whole nother level at this point. I don't know if he would.
He's not bigger than Cody.
I don't know. I think he's treated as bigger than Cody. I think he's in that like Brock tier now, where he
I think Cody's the biggest star in the world right now, by a pretty considerable margin. But I understand why you would say that. But I'm hoping for Roman. I'm hoping for Dominic. The rest of the roster, I can more or less take or leave. That's
On a
those are
Legends level. On a Legends level, it makes you wonder if they get the old Hulkster out again, if he would do well again back to back years, or they go the more the less exceptional route, and they sort of bring in like a Bret Hart, who I probably do really well with a Fanatics crowd. But I mean, for people like us, it would be like completely, who would deal with Bret Hart in that setting? If
Oh
you've
my
seen him
god! No, I could see them bringing out Hulk. I could see them bringing out Shawn Michaels.
Oh, Sean, that would be. Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
I think that's something that they would do in this context. Any other legends who are really big on at their level, where they would be having that level of foot traffic? That I'm not sure beyond that.
Do you think Triple H is possible at a Fanatics Fest, given the ties with the company?
I don't. I think he's savvy enough to keep himself separate from the talent in that way. I think that's purely a political thing. I don't think he would do it. It would be. I don't know what I even like. I have a great shot with Triple H. I have great autographs in my permanent, personal collection with Triple H. So I don't really need him.
Yeah, I don't think I would. He's not really in any of the figure sets that I'm super nostalgic about. Like Undertaker now, my big thing that I'm chewing on is, do I get a Hasbro? But even a French card Hasbro is pricey. There's not very many out there that are even in decent shape that I saw on the market right now. So I don't know if I buy one for you're talking $600-$700 at the end of the day to get it and get it signed, and that's a pretty big walnut right there. So I gotta decide. Nutty. If they add Shawn Michaels, that's a different story, because his Hasbros aren't that much, surprisingly.
Are you gonna get Dwayne Wade?
I don't think I can. It's Friday.
Listen, where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so
And don't worry, once they fill out the basketball lineup on Friday like they did last year, and I end up missing all the Knicks again because of work, I will be complaining on here quite a bit. So tune in.
So yeah, that's Fanatics Fest. Also, really, really interesting public statement was released recently by Doug Jones. You might know Doug Jones from The Shape of Water or Pan's Labyrinth. What was his other big role? Hellboy.
Hellboy's in the new Star Trek sci-fi. The new Star Trek show on whatever the hell streaming that thing it's
Paramount.
On. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, he's in everything, honestly.
Yeah, he does lots of like effects work, and he is stunt work and stuff like that. So apparently he was booked for RetroCon Guatemala. In the interest of full candor, I didn't know that Guatemala had cons and that RetroCon was running in Guatemala, but God bless if they were. But anyway, the public statement basically more or less read that Doug Jones was being pulled from RetroCon Guatemala, and it was very vague as to why he was pulled. But I think reading between the lines, it was because they didn't send his deposit on time or didn't send his guarantee on time to get on the airplane, which is interesting because typically these shows that are not on American soil are pre-funded very heavily, because a lot of the guests are adamant about not getting on the plane until they get their money, because you don't want to go into a foreign country and not have any money. It opens you up to significant liability, and so it was just an interesting public statement that he felt the need to write this press release from getting pulled from a con that most of us didn't even know was happening. So I never even did. You ever even Google RetroCon Guatemala?
I didn't, but all I keep thinking about now is I want to peer pressure Jerry into going to RetroCon Guatemala. Like this, I want to see him try to get a Greyhound to Guatemala.
I mean, he should.
He needs to.
Let's see. Are there any meet and greet? If this show happens, I will be very surprised. The website is absolute amateur hour.
I'm looking at it right now. This is not good.
And it's taking place at the end of the month. There's a meet and greet link, but when you try and click the meet, there's no link. There's just lots of blank space on this website here.
This is not good. I think Doug Jones made the right call to abandon to Guatemala. This is not a trip. I don't even have the C2 like Paul of wanting to go to this one.
No, yeah, it's a shame, but it looks like it's not. No, I bet that's what. Looking at it, it's very clear to me that he was not paid. That's the only thing that makes sense there. So anyway, if you're interested in reading that, it's you can Google it. His agent, Cool Waters Promotions.
Yeah, it's on their page.
Cool Waters Productions, I think they put it out. We did have a couple of people send in reports for things that they saw, things that got signed this week, or things they saw. Two stood out. So you want to take the Zach one?
Yeah, Zach was at the stop that Hulk Hogan had, and I'm trying to see exactly what city it was in, but it was like in the Westchester area.
It's about an hour north of New York City, I think.
Yeah. So the Hulkster, as most people should know that aren't living under a rock, he is promoting a beer. He has the Real American beer. So Zach went up and he had his figure, and you can see Zach's a pro. He had the painter's tape on. I mean, I kind of question Zach on the Posca part of it, but I mean, I've told him this privately. That's the whole thing. It looks great until it doesn't, but I can't begrudge. And he got it done. Hulk did not sign very many extras. He has a really, really well-written and interesting report on the post in the Facebook group. But the appearance was from 6 to 8 p.m. He got there at 4:45 because you got to be early. If you're not early, you're late. And there were 50 people in line. Jimmy Hart, of course, was there. Jimmy Hart, I don't even know what Hulk's going to do. He better hope that that Jimmy outlives him, because how do you lose the ultimate hype man? That guy is hyping everything. And yeah, it was successful. He got it done. He didn't even get a Hulkster. He got the full Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he pulled that one off. I mean, the pictures that he posted, it looked like absolute mayhem. No one got near Hulk. It was scheduled to be a 2-hour appearance, and he said Hulk was gone after about a half hour.
Yeah.
So
honestly, it brings me back to like flashbacks to us at that bar with Kelsey Grammer.
You know what's so funny about that is that we read so many reports about how laid back those were, about how easy they were, about how everyone got everything done by Kelsey Grammer, and it was an absolute zoo when we went to that place.
And I'll tell you, Zach was very skilled in this situation. That's not easy. You're at that bar. No. You have the skilled people in situations like that make it hard because they're so aggressive and cutthroat. And then you have the unskilled people who are just like deers in headlights that make it hard because they're just totally they screw up the opening. So it's tough on both levels. And what a hit. Like, talk about that figure looks awesome. So
yeah,
great job, Zach.
It's a $200+ autograph, right?
Yeah.
On a premium item. So that's pretty sick. So
well worth it.
Kudos to you. Frequent flyer Martin is out. He's out in Chile. He's at it again.
He really runs amok in Chile. He's out and he's in those streets a lot. Good for you, man.
Yeah, he has we have our I wonder we have our New York graphers who everyone recognizes. I wonder if in Santiago or whatever, all of it, everyone just knows Martin's face. He's always at the airport or at the hotel. I don't know. It's an interesting question. But he ended up he saw a couple of bands. I think a drummer from old rock bands, White Zombie and Testament. He also saw the band Simply Red, which is pretty cool. I mean, in the pre-show discussion, I had to sing Dana a couple of bars of that song, If You Don't Know Me By Now, just because otherwise he had no idea who Simply Red was. So thankfully that part wasn't recorded. But still, those are great hits because in that kind of environment is where you're going to get full bands like that. Full bands are freaking incredibly difficult to get as a general rule, especially bands where they get multiple hits and massive international stardom. So pretty sick. Simply Red, that was a name that popped out to me, and that was pretty awesome.
Yes, well done, Martin.
So let's talk about Evolve, because I think it's an important part. It's an important part of our business. And the truth of it is, many people here might not care about this next segment, but I mean, this is what we're doing. This is what Marked Out Collectibles has been doing for the past couple months and will be doing for the foreseeable future. So it's worth talking about. So we've been hyping these WWE ID prospects since, and when did we start hyping them? June, July, what?
It's a really great question. It has to be around there. Yeah, it's been time flies when you are hyping, I guess.
Oh wait, no, they were no. I'm mistaken. I'm thinking it's already later in the year. Those guys. The ID program was announced in November, right?
Yeah,
and so it's not June, July. I don't want to come up with that. So we were on board with that pretty much that week. So in November, but some of these guys, that's where I was confused. Some of these guys were already on our radar back in June and July.
That's where it all blurs over. Honestly, yeah,
right.
I would say 2/3 have been on our radar for longer.
Right. People like, just in case, we were already putting out feelers to Zeta Steel and Brad Baylor and Jackson Drake over the summer, and some of them even in the spring before ID was even created. So these are people who we had our eye on. That's why, honestly, it was so validating. I don't know how you feel about this. To me, it was so validating for me that these were people who we were already scouting, and then to find out WWE was scouting them as well.
Yeah,
was really cool.
Like, to give some context, you have Bryce Donovan on the ID list, and I believe I'll check timestamps later just to see if I'm completely losing my marbles. But I think that big event when we had Lucha House Party, Tiara, and Encore, I think when we got Encore, we originally floated the offer to Bryce Donovan.
So you're talking over 2 years ago.
Yeah, I was texting Bryce back then, trying to get him out, and he had a booking, which, I mean, again, that's the pitfalls of trying to book high end indie talent that are busy, and we couldn't get him out. But that was 2 years ago, and honestly, I don't know how we would have done 2 years ago. I may have been too ahead of the curve on that, but yeah, we wanted him way back then.
So we were hyping these ID guys since November. That's officially when everything. That's what we sat down and formed our business plan, and we'll be very transparent. Our business plan is to get significant inventory on anyone who is identified in the ID program as a prospect. So again, if you know anyone who either has a contact for some of the ID people we don't have, I mean, we've pretty much spoken with almost all of them. But if you know any of them who are being booked in the New York, New Jersey area in the next couple months, we always want to talk to them. But anyhow, we were always waiting to see what was the next step. And then, in speaking with some of these guys, and it's actually kind of an interesting thing. And, one of the things I don't like is worrying. Not worrying is the wrong word, but like these guys will talk, a lot of them will just talk and tell us stuff. And we feel comfortable talking around back and forth. And we have to really make sure we keep all this information confidential, because they're talking about their characters and what they're doing in the indies and stuff like that, and we don't necessarily want to spoil their mojo, and so we had known that the Evolve show was coming a little bit before it was even announced, right? And so we knew it was coming. We didn't know where it was coming to or exactly what it would look like, and so and honestly, these guys didn't even know what the show would look like. In speaking with them, they knew they were going to be on it, but they didn't know how it would be edited and what it would look like. So Evolve debuted this past Wednesday night on Tubi. I'm a little bit frustrated because on my main TV, Tubi is not available, so I have to use my Roku. It's a whole production. Or I actually, to be honest, I watched it with my phone, which is, I felt like a Gen Z person watching something on my phone.
Steven Spielberg would weep.
I know. I hate, honestly. I really identify with what Spielberg says about that stuff, and Tarantino says about that stuff. That I hate watching stuff on my phone. It's awful. I really hate the experience. It makes me feel claustrophobic. But enough about me. And so I watched the show, and so I wanted to talk about, because how this show went and how this show goes. Let's be very clear. How this show goes will determine a lot of how much money we make in the next 6 months. Let's be honest, right? I mean, we are rooting for this show to do really well and for certain people on this show to really shine, because that will generate income for us. So I want to be very transparent about that. Not that we don't like them, not that we're not fans of them, but we also are, this is an investment for us.
Yeah. I've never watched a wrestling show like Nerves before. I've never really been nervous. Actually, I take that back. Probably when I was like 7 or something, I was probably nervous about, Brett losing the title. But as like an adult, I've never really been nervous watching a show. And I was a little nervous the first episode because, transparency, we had to talk before and we're like, imagine they like use all these like ID people as like enhancement talent for the NXT people. And
They
like
start
that
feeding
quick,
them, yeah.
yeah, and that quickly was shown that the main event and everything that's not what they're doing. But I mean, talk about a complete like just crash and burn investment business strategy, everything. Like you'd have all these, it would just be, I've been awful. But yeah, it was. It's an interesting thing because like it's an investment. Unlike some vendors out there, I'm not gonna spin it and say, oh, we're close personal friends with any of these guys. Like, don't let the Facebook friends fool you. I don't think we're friends with any of them. I won't be inviting. Sam's not coming to a barbecue, but these are people that we honestly, I think, which is kind of interesting for a lot of these guys because like I'm not living at the Indies. For a lot of these guys, they were pictures and like little snippets, and I didn't like know them on like a fan level. I sort of met them as humans, and like we got to know them before we even really got to know their work to that level. So it's like it feels different watching because like while we're not friends with them, you know them, we've met them, we hear their like hopes and dreams, and I feel like I'm like some sort of a fairy godmother here, but you do want to see them succeed, and then also we want to make money, so we want them
It's
to
funny because
succeed again.
we were talking about this before, but I do feel a certain amount of protectiveness over them. I mean, some of them are. We were talking about this when we worked with Billy Starks, right? When she had just turned 18 years old, and I'm like, you got to be careful out there driving. She was flying all over the place, driving all over the place in the middle of the night, and I'm like, and some of these kids are 20, 21 years old, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It makes you nervous a little bit for because I mean, let's be clear. All 21-year-olds are kind of dumb, even the smart ones, just because of your brain when it's that age. So, and this is like the old fogey in me talking, but you get to be a little bit protective over them about their careers, about their livelihood, making sure they're doing the things that are protecting themselves for the rest of their lives. So that there's that component to it too. I find myself, giving these guys advice while we're sitting here talking about, how to. I remember we were talking to Brad Baylor. Don't cut your face if you don't have to, like stuff like that. Because some of these guys on the indies, they think they're gonna, make a name for themselves bleeding all over the place, and what you end up doing is scarring up your head, and that can screw up what your marketability is. But I digress. Yeah. So I watched the show on. We were very both. I agree with you. I was very anxious. I do not get anxious about wrestling at all, and I was very anxious going in, which is both demented and also interesting. And I flipped it on, and I'm not gonna lie, there were parts of the program that were extremely exciting and extremely positive for me, and there were also parts that were really kind of scary and a little bit disheartening. And I want to be very open and transparent about it because I think that I don't think the Evolve program on Tubi is what anyone predicted it would be, or at least the people I talked to.
Yeah, I know my vision of it was I thought they were basically going to take the ID Twitter feed and just sort of roll that out into a show. And you had like the opening match, the second match. It was like the NXT talent that really don't have the screen time or the exposure on the regular NXT brand that are put down here. And I don't know, maybe I'd feel differently about some of them if I had like investments and stuff riding on them. But I don't know, it didn't grab me, honestly. It was stuff I was watching it just to get a feel for the show. By week 4, I'm probably going to fast forward the NXT stuff because it's like I don't really care unless they change my mind by like getting me invested in something. But on the first 2 matches, it didn't really do a hell of a lot for me. But how about you?
I mean, that's so. I mean, I was texting you furiously during all this. There was the first match was a tag team match with 4 young women. They looked fine, but they also looked very inexperienced, very rough. And it's the kind of thing where I understand their new idea, their new philosophy is getting these people TV experience as early as possible to see who can hack it on TV and who can't, and who can, TV is an interesting thing. There are people who look great live and then they shrink on TV. There are other people that you don't think they're anything special. Then you look at them on TV and they come alive like stars. So I understand that piece of it. I thought that first match, I thought they looked like just random people. There was nothing as far as character work. Whatever rudimentary character work that they did was very poor and poorly executed. And I was getting nervous. I'm like, who the hell are these people? I want to see the ID people. And instead we're seeing these people. I don't know who the hell they are. Yeah. And so that was rough. But I think I was really disheartened by the second match. So the second match was this squash where basically this guy, Keanu Carver, who they had given a lot of interview time to, he was a focal point of the commercial during Elimination Chamber. And he goes out there and they put him out there with another NXT guy. And he basically just killed the guy in a minute, pretty much. And it was like, it wasn't good. There was no showcasing of charisma. There was nothing there where you go, wow, this guy is something to really look at. He's got some kind of, it was just kind of like sort of surprising. It was like watching an Outback Jack squash from 87, you know? I was like, what is going on here? I was very perturbed by it, actually, because it made me really nervous that you know, are they going to start feeding ID guys to, you know, Keanu Carver? And that was something that was very concerning to me. But then they had a promo segment with our guys, Swipe Right, Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, and also with Jackson Drake. It was funny. You saw a significant difference between their promo work and character work as compared to the NXT people. Because they are more seasoned, they are more experienced, even though they don't have that WWE experience, they have indie experience. And then they put a 6-man tag match as the main event. So it's weird. The NXT matches, the people who were signed to WWE contracts were in the openers. And the non-WWE talent, the ID people, those were the main event, which I thought was really just bizarre. And so the main event was Sean Legacy, who we hope to work with soon. Cappuccino Jones, who we also hope to work with soon, and not Ricky Smokes, Jack Cartwheel, who we have worked with, obviously is awesome. Taking on Jackson Drake, who we of course worked with at PWJ, Brad Baylor, who was in my dining room the other day, and Ricky Smokes, who we'll work with this weekend. So these are people who we have an investment in. And what was your response to that matchup?
Well, first of all, the promo, it was just awesome, honestly, and kind of full circle for, like, you, as we talked about before, you sort of highlighted Jackson Drake like a year and a half ago as the prospect that you felt the strongest about. You discovered him on, you know, in our circle. It's not like you discovered him, you know, sort of just like a Columbus level discovery. He was very much there. Just you saw him first for us. And I discovered Jackson Drake. I discovered Brad Baylor. So to see each of our like individual like top prospects basically together was kind of cool. Promo was great. All three looked very comfortable. Match was excellent. Like, you see these guys are getting the reps all around the country. You see why they were ID'd. You see the value of learning on, you know, the road and learning on a whole bunch of different stages versus literally just going to the performance center. And that is your only point of reference. Like, you see the difference, you see the depth, you see the nuances and the things they're able to do in the range. And I thought the match was perfect. I thought the promos were perfect. The babyface going over, you know, let the little like chicken shit cocky Brad Baylor take the loss makes sense. Like, I thought it was excellent top to bottom, not a single complaint. How about you?
I'll take it a step further. I was like, I felt very comfortable in our investment after that match. And I really hope that they continue putting the ID guys on television, because you see they came alive. You see they know they were already clearly trying to work to the camera. You know, I'm honestly, I know we're going to have different opinions on this. I thought Jackson stole that show. But I mean, in that match, he was outstanding. Everyone was great. Honestly, I hadn't seen any Ricky Smokes. Ricky Smokes was phenomenal. Yeah. And I hadn't seen him before, and he really was outstanding. Sean Legacy showed absurd charisma, just ridiculous charisma. So I am so excited for where this is going. I really hope they don't bungle this. I really hope that they develop these people into, real stars. It was a really it's really wild to see these guys who are so young and who are picking up all the intangibles and being really good, yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say about the Evolve. I mean, I really hope that the upcoming weeks, I hope they have more ID matches. And these NXT matches, just come on, or the Performance Center people. They're just, I'm sorry, I have no interest. And that's something that already, because some of my friends, they watch like the LFG show on A&E, so they were asking if we were going to get any of those people in for signings, and I'm going to be honest. My answer is no. I mean, maybe I'm going off script here for you, Dana. My answer is no, because there are too many of them, and it's with the ID people. They're all good, so I'm comfortable I'm taking that gamble on paying them for something that's not, that'd be worth a lot more in the future. With the Performance Center people, there's over 100 of them. There are over 100 of these people signing at the Performance. Wrestling at the Performance Center, training at the Performance Center, the majority of them are going to wash out and not make it and not be professional athletes, professional wrestlers anyway. They're just giving it a shot. They haven't paid their dues and worked for a few years on the indies.
Yeah, I mean, if I looked at the ID, if I looked at the Performance Center roster, even if I look at the LFG roster, I think there's a couple. If there was a convenient opportunity, I would actually be interested in working with. Not many, a couple. But the issue is, I'm not flying to Orlando. As much as I love Orlando, I mean, I'm not going to do that for a signing with one of these guys. So as of now, am I thinking that there's anything we could do with the LFG people? I doubt it. But I mean, never say never. I'm open to it. If the right person on that roster might have some potential.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I was so impressed. The ID people stood out so significantly over the others that it actually made me nervous a little bit. Like, why are they sharing the same show? There's a huge jarring. In fact, I mean, I don't mean to like disrespect anyone, but during the ID, after the ID match was over, and they were like during the celebration, they cut to one of the women from the opener, like clearly trying to cut a promo or throwing a temper tantrum by the commentary desk, and it was just bad. It was poorly executed, poorly performed. It did not land at all. And like that's nervous. That makes me nervous that made TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think there's any chance they're going to botch this. If you look at this ID roster, you look at some of the people that we have circled that would probably make it on an ID number 2. This is the next like era of, when you had Punk and you had Joe and you had AJ and you had, going a step further and you had Gargano and you had Ciampa and you had, Owens and these different people that were out on the scene. This is that next crop. There's no keeping this kind of talent down. There's too many options. There's too much clarity in the way the entire operation is run, where they're not going to just, they're not going to saddle these guys with ridiculous gimmicks. It's not going to get messed up. I am completely confident in our investment, and I'll tell you, just to wrap up the Evolve thing, beyond like seeing the people that we've been chasing for years on like the WWE Twitter account and all these different places, it was also kind of nice to hear all the alerts on our phones from the sales after that show.
I gotta say, and I'm glad you brought it up, because after that show aired on Wednesday night, we started ringing in sales immediately, and to me, that's such a validation of our thought process, because like, and I'm gonna be honest, most of our guests I don't personally collect items from. Just because I don't have space and I'm trying to get rid of thin items out of my collection. And I'm not going to say which ones and what the circumstances are, but there are several ID people that I've bought premium type prints for my own personal collection, because I have such high hopes for them and such high expectations for them in the future. You collect everyone; it's different. But for me, I really try and keep it not like that, and I still feel compelled. That's how much how much I believe in this thing. All right, I think we should call an audible here and just cut segment D. What do you think?
Sure.
Because just we're already over an hour. I don't have to edit this; it's fine. So let's just talk about what's coming up. Because honestly, a lot of the things we said were coming up, we ended up cutting out altogether. So we got Ricky Smokes, and as of right now, I'm not even going to say that. It's false. He's the last ID person in the immediate future, but we still have a couple more coming up in the near future. But in the immediate future, he's the last one because we've been working at a breakneck pace, doing 1 or 2 a week, and it's just been a ton. And so Ricky Smokes, very, very excited to have him in on this weekend. I'm actually much higher now on Ricky Smokes than I was before after seeing that match on Tubi.
Yeah, like this is subtleties in his game that I wasn't really aware of. Like he makes like the facials and the just like the way, even like his hand movements, the way he was like counting with the fingers and doing different things in that promo. That's something that you have people that have been doing this for a lot longer than he has that don't have that kind of skill. He's a natural. He's excellent, and
yeah, I mean, I looked at it's great because I like him. He's a great worker. I'm excited to work with him, and I'm watching him wrestle. And I'm like, what a douchebag this kid is, and that's great because he's able to get that kind of heat just by exuding natural charisma. He took an ass kicking phenomenally, as all good heels are supposed to do. I thought I'm very excited for Ricky Smokes. Honestly, I'm very high on him now. So I'm excited for this weekend. So Monster Mania, you are now officially out.
Yeah, and Tobin Bell isn't even dead. I kind of made it like super concrete. I'm like, if he's alive, I'm going. And it turned out, which again, back to me not really monitoring my calendar. I thought Friday was a regular Friday. So I figured, all right, I'll take a day off, I'll go. But it turns out at my day job, Friday is like a training. And it's, it's not really, I probably could still take off, but I don't think it's really the greatest look. So I'm going to the training, and I thought, I'll just be able to go after, not realizing or really considering that Friday afternoon traffic is just a disaster. And what would typically be a 3-hour one-way drive is going to probably be 4 if I'm lucky. And this photo op is at 7. It's just it's too much. Some people out there will run and they run in at the last second and they're happy with that. For me, I'd be going crazy. I'd be stressing. If I lost 5 minutes on the time, I'd be freaking out. It says I'm going to be miserable the whole time. So unless somehow the training ends super early, that I could just skip out a little early, maybe I'll call an audible again and do it, but probably not. I think I'm out. So Tobin Bell lives to see another day. I won't be there, and hopefully I'll see him somewhere down the road.
So if you do attend Monster Mania, we would love a report of what happens so that we can talk about it because we're not going to be there. We're also not going to be at Chiller Theater. We mentioned that last week. So if you're at Chiller Theater in April, please leave a report on markedout.com or on the Facebook group, and so that we can talk about it and make sure to send in your photo ops. And so the only thing really, aside from Ricky Smokes over the weekend, big event is also this weekend. I am very excited. I finally got my NWO poster out of the frame, like I was joking about with Tom Unger a few weeks ago. So it's ready to go. So you actually saw it for the first time yesterday. We were loading stuff into my car, and you're like, I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, I originally thought you wanted me to take that ahead of you just to have it there in case. And I was thinking, oh, crap, I got to carry this thing around.
Yeah, no, I would not have been. That's not something I would ever do is even ask someone to do that.
So I would have to stash it at the table behind Hornswoggle and make him watch it.
So yeah, so we didn't. I'll carry it with I'll bring it myself. I have to make sure I have some white Posca. Actually, I should get Posca on. You know what's funny thing is the white autographs on that poster were all done by those Elmer's pens.
You gotta track one of those down. You gotta go digging through some landfill somewhere.
Those don't exist, so I have to get a white Posca primed for Tenzan on there, and then I need a white Sharpie primed for Tenzan on the figures that I have. Do you are you gonna have pens like that, or do I need to bring pens?
definitely will have some, but now that you're saying that, I probably have to quickly order another set because I'm looking. I don't have that many whites left. We've been burning through them on the ID promos.
Yeah, you know what? I need to find my Posca set so I'll just dump it into your, your set. But I gotta find it because I don't know where. After the what was that show we went to?
PWJ.
After PWJ, thank you. I can't find where my Poscas are. So I really need to look. I gotta do. I don't even know when I'm going to do it because I'm leaving Wednesday. So I tomorrow, I think, or maybe tonight. It's already a bit late. I'll try and find that Posca set, but I'm not going to see you Saturday morning in time.
Yeah.
So, but I'll give you the rest just so you can put among the other ones. So we have it. But I gotta find a white. I have white Sharpies though. Anyway. No one needs to know that, but here we are. So I'm excited for the big event. I mean, I'm excited for my Flair poster, honestly, and all our Flair orders. I mean, there's a lot. Honestly, we got a lot of orders for big event, more than I thought we were going to get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'm thrilled. It's a very, very healthy turnout. I'm excited. It's funny, though, as I said, true to form, every time I do anything, make any sort of a move where I'm like making money on the Ric Flair deal, I just come up with something else I'm going to get signed. So I'm literally making nothing on Flair. I am just gaining a whole bunch of stuff that I'm happy to have, and it's awesome. And, Mercedes has been a healthy turnout. We've had, Tenzon. Apparently, you're not the only person excited about Tenzon out there.
Yeah, we got several people mailing figures, and some people doing some prints for Tenzon. I mean, our prints, you do an unbelievable job with designing the prints. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's too late to order any of them. It's not too late to order Ricky Smokes, by the way. But the rest of the big event stuff is all locked in. We just took a last minute order like yesterday, I think, right?
Yeah,
big event. So that's exciting. But as far as ordering prints, actually even mail orders, I mean, no one's going to get it to us in time, right?
They got to move. They got to get them out.
I mean, maybe by tonight, if you mail it out, overnight or something, then we'll have it. But that's cutting it very, very close. If you really need, someone like Flair, I hate to be morbid, but let's be honest. What are we looking at here for Flair in terms of the future? So get it. That's why I bit the bullet. I'm getting, even though I claim I'm getting on my PC, I'm getting out of my PC game. I am getting a Flair or two done for myself, just because I think this is it. I really do. I hate to be like that, but I really think so. So that's that. So if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. We already talked about the private signings. We already talked about big event. We can't take any more orders. I think we're done.
Yeah. And the last thing, the only orders we can take for big event, what I did was I left for Ric Flair and I think for Mercedes. We have a couple of extra prints in stock. Those are still on the website. So if you are feeling a little bit of FOMO and you realize that, those, the prices are going to go up as we've told you.
So those are the ones that we are getting done for our back stock.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, every time I sell one of the ones we have held aside for back stock, I'm actually slightly a little perturbed about it. I'm like, I didn't want to sell it yet. I want to charge more for it. But
I want to sell it. Buy it. But I mean, Sasha is doing unbelievably well. I can't believe how many orders we got for Sasha. She's rare. My perception was just skewed. I didn't think that she was going to do as well as she's currently doing. So I'm very excited. I mean, she's a great guest. She's amazing. I was there live for Sasha versus Bayley. So Sasha holds a very dear place for me. So anyway, that's it for this week. For markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week after the big event.